Hi everyone. Welcome to Late Night Snack. I'm Allie Kinnear, and I'm trying out new digs here tonight, so we'll see. Just keeping things fresh. Late Night Snack, for those of you who don't know, it is a time where we just have a short conversation about parenting, about self-care, and just life in general. And so the whole month of February, I've been talking about negative self-talk, right? Those scripts in our head that keep us stuck and are just really, at the end of the day, not very helpful. So because it's the last Wednesday night in February, tonight we're going to talk about what to do besides negative self-talk. Because if you think about human behavior, any kind of human behavior, your children's behavior, your behavior, I think about the analogy of water flowing out of a faucet, right? Any kind of behavior is just flowing out like water out of a faucet. And if we just try to stop the behavior, you see where this is going, right? Just psh, it doesn't work. It just makes things incredibly messy. So like we do this with our children. If we just say stop, 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 they have no place to like let their behavior, their energy flow to. So instead of just stopping it, because that's not effective, we channel it into where we want it to be. So we have to do that for ourselves sometimes. And when it comes to negative self-talk, we have to be our own gatekeeper. But we can't just say, stop the negative self-talk, right? It doesn't exactly work. So we have to channel that talk into where we want it to go to. And so tonight's topic is really about choosing compassion. And the reason why I say compassion is that there's a lot of research done that when we can speak to ourselves in compassionate ways, that it actually helps us improve our behavior. It helps us take the steps that we actually want to take and that are beneficial not only to us, but to the people we love. So there's a really great book, and I know it's going to be backwards, but this is such as life. Here it is. It's called Self-Compassion, and it's written by Kristin Neff. Kristin Neff is one of the leaders when it comes to self-compassion, and I will read this for you so you're not having to test your backward reading skills. But the thing it says at the top here is stop beating yourself up and leave insecurity behind. If insecurity and lack of confidence or negative self-talk is a thing for you, may I suggest this beautiful book. You can also go to her website, and I think they even have a quiz on how self-compassionate are you, because there's all these different components to self-compassion. And you can see, actually I'm pretty strong in this area, but this is the area that I need to kind of work on. And I'll tell you something. I used to think that negative self-talk is like what was going to help get me going and get me on the right path. But what it actually does is it helps, it kept me small, and it kept me in hiding in many ways. So when we can speak to ourselves in compassionate ways, it doesn't mean we're off the hook. It doesn't mean we're self-congratulating ourselves and patting our back for every deed that we do. It means that even in our hardest times, even if in our times when we feel like we did really the thing that we shouldn't have done or said the thing that we shouldn't have said, we yelled at our kids, we said something to our partners that was really toxic, we acted in a way that was incongruent with ourselves and our values. It means that even in those times, we can hold ourselves in compassion and say, we're going to make this better. It's going to be okay. I love myself even when I make mistakes. And by loving myself even when I make mistakes, it helps us do that harder work of apologizing, of holding ourselves accountable, of making amends. Does that make sense? So like if we are beating ourselves up, all of our focus and energy goes into berating ourselves and trying to keep ourselves clamped down so we don't do it again, as opposed to acknowledging what a sucky situation we're in and caring for ourselves and saying, okay, what do we need to do in order to make sure this doesn't happen again? You see, we get to the same place, we just get there in different ways. And I want to tell you a story. I remember talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about this negative self-talk and talking about how to hold ourselves with compassion, because the thing that I've really realized, and research really backs it up, is that if I'm judgmental about myself and racked with negative self-talk, then that means I am probably gossiping about other people. I'm probably being really judgmental about other people. I'm probably really saying harsh things to other people, even if it's just happening in my head. So like what we do to ourselves, we end up doing to other people, right? So I was talking to my friend, and she said, did you know that in any given moment, we can choose to love ourselves? And it was like, wow. I mean, just take a moment. Did you know that in any given moment, we can choose to love ourselves? Now, we can also make the choice to not love ourselves, to continue to beat ourselves up. But we can make a different choice, which is that even in our hardest times, even in our times when we feel so less than, we can choose to love ourselves, to hold ourselves tenderly, and to care for ourselves the way that we would do with our kids. If our kids came home from a really hard day at school, or if they were just falling apart moment after moment after moment because something was just really off, we would hold them tenderly, right? And be like, oh, it's like Mama said there'd be days like this, right? Sometimes it's just a hard day. We'll get through it, and we hold them with that tenderness. So that's what we need to do to care for our own selves. And when we do that, then that helps us be able to care more for the people we love. So we can only give what we have, right? And so if we have a lot of self-judgment, then what we give to others is judgment. When we have a lot of anger towards ourselves, we give to other people anger. But when we give ourselves even more compassion, we hold ourselves in those tender places, it helps us be able to give that compassion and give that tenderness back to the people we love. So that is my thought for you in closing out all of Negative Self-Talk February. And I just ask you, take a look. Self-Compassion, Kristin Neff, and find it at your library, order it, go onto our website, take the quiz about self-compassion, and just reflect on what areas are you really good at in your own self-compassion, and what are the areas that you could maybe put your attention toward. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful night. Hi, Mom. I love you. I got the new backdrop. It's not exactly what we were thinking of, but it's getting closer, hopefully. All right. Anyway, love you. I wish you a full night of uninterrupted sleep tonight and always. And I hope you have a great week. I will see you next Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.